Commander Tessa Marshall stared at the flickering holographic transmission before her, the Imperial emissary's face distorted by static. Even through the distorted image, the alien's sneer was clear. "Commander Marshall," the emissary drawled, "we of the Galactic Empire extend our final offer of mercy. Surrender Earth's command structures and resources, and you will be permitted a minor place in the Empire. Resist, and you'll face consequences your feeble minds cannot comprehend." Tessa felt the weight of his threat settle over the room, but she held his gaze. "We'll take our chances," she replied, her voice cold. The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving the command center in silence. Admiral Carter, an older man with a sharp jawline and graying hair, sighed heavily beside her. "That's the third mercy offer in a week," he said. "They're getting bolder. They must think we're easy prey." "That's exactly what they think," Tessa replied, crossing her arms. "But they don't know what we've been working on." Around the table, members of Earth's Defense Council exchanged glances. Not everyone knew the full extent of what Tessa had to show them today, and she sensed their skepticism. Some thought Earth was doomed, that it was only a matter of time before the Empire's superior technology overwhelmed them. But today, she'd proved them wrong. Clearing her throat, she spoke with a controlled intensity. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've all heard about the Galactic Empire's military power, the reach of their fleets, their claim that they've never been defeated." She paused, meeting each gaze in turn. "But humanity has one thing they haven't seen." With a flick of her wrist, she activated the hologram in the center of the table, displaying blueprints and data projections. "Teleportation technology," she announced, watching their reactions. "We've perfected it. And we've kept it hidden." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Admiral Carter raised an eyebrow. "You're saying we have a way to move our ships directly into enemy territory?" "Yes," Tessa said. "And they have no idea we possess it. If we're strategic about its use, it's our ace in the hole." One of the council members, an older woman named Dr. Singh, looked skeptical. "Commander, teleportation is incredibly risky. We've barely tested it in combat. What if something goes wrong?" Tessa nodded, understanding the concern. "There's risk. But this is our best chance to level the playing field. The Empire is arrogant. They see us as backward, as inconsequential. That arrogance blinds them. And it's going to cost them." A tense silence followed as her words settled over the group. The council members shifted, weighing the stakes, the risks, and the boldness of the plan. Finally, Admiral Carter leaned forward, his expression resolute. "I say we go for it," he said, his voice steady. "The Empire won't expect it, and that gives us a fighting chance." The rest of the council members nodded one by one. Dr. Singh still looked doubtful, but she inclined her head. "Very well, Commander. But we'll need to be extremely careful. One error, one miscalculation, and this technology could be our undoing." "Agreed," Tessa said. "We'll be ready. We start by deploying a small fleet for a test run. If that succeeds, we'll scale up." Another voice joined in from the back of the room. Lieutenant Navarro, a young officer who'd been working directly on the teleportation project, spoke up. "Commander, the energy requirements are significant. We'll need to recharge after each jump. And there's no guarantee we won't have slight, spatial deviations." Tessa nodded. "I'm aware. We'll adapt our strategies accordingly, but the advantages far outweigh the limitations." The council broke for a recess, and Tessa walked over to the observation deck, her mind racing with preparations. Below, Earth rotated slowly, blue and white against the darkness of space. She felt a pang of determination. This was home, the planet she'd dedicated her life to defending. She couldn't let the Empire strip it bare. Footsteps sounded behind her, and she turned to see Admiral Carter. "Tessa," he said quietly, "I've known you a long time. Are you ready for this?" "More than ready," she replied. "The Empire is dangerous, but they're not invincible. They think we're primitive. But we've got something they don't." He studied her face, a faint smile pulling at his mouth. I'll admit, when I heard about this teleportation project, I thought it was just another pipe dream. Now I see it's our only real shot. It is, she agreed. We're not facing them on their terms. We'll choose the battlefield, and we'll surprise them at every turn. Their conversation was interrupted by the hum of an incoming message. Tessa's communication device beeped, and she answered it quickly. Commander Marshall, you're needed in Control Room A, said a young operator's voice. It's the Imperial fleet. They're positioning themselves at the edge of the solar system. Tessa's pulse quickened, but her voice remained calm. Acknowledged. I'll be there shortly. As she moved through the corridors to Control Room A, her thoughts were sharp, calculating. The Empire was moving fast, perhaps faster than anticipated. They were here for dominance, expecting to crush Earth's defenses in one decisive stroke. She couldn't wait to shatter that assumption. Inside Control Room A, the atmosphere was tense. Technicians and officers were busy at their consoles, tracking the Empire's movements in real time. A massive display showed a collection of red blips inching closer to the outer planets. They're just outside Neptune's orbit, Lieutenant Navarro reported. They'll be in striking range within 2 days. Good, Tessa replied. Then we'll be ready to greet them. She studied the screen, the red blips flashing against the darkness. She knew that each represented a warship, bristling with alien technology, shields, and weapons. And yet, they had no clue what awaited them. Prepare the Phoenix fleet for teleportation, she ordered. Have them hold position near Mars. I want their first jump to put them right on top of the Imperial advance. The technicians scrambled to execute her commands, and a hush fell over the room as everyone watched the screen. Admiral Carter was at her side, his voice low. Do you think they'll retreat once they realize what we're capable of? He asked. Not a chance, Tessa replied. They're too proud. They'll keep coming until we force them to acknowledge our strength. Carter nodded, a flicker of pride in his gaze. Then let's give them a welcome they won't forget. As the Phoenix fleet powered up, the tension in the room grew. Tessa could feel it in her bones, the anticipation, the sense of stepping into uncharted territory. This was more than just a battle. It was humanity's chance to show that they weren't just another species to be conquered and catalogued. They were a force to be reckoned with. Her voice broke the silence. This is our home. We defend it with everything we have. Today, we show the Empire who we are. The final preparations completed, the command center watched as Earth's small but formidable fleet awaited orders, ready to disappear in the blink of an eye and reappear where their enemies least expected. The hum of energy resonated through the Phoenix fleet's command center as Commander Tessa Marshall prepared her fleet for their first jump. Screens flickered with data on the Imperial ships drifting near the edge of the solar system, unaware of the ambush awaiting them. Phoenix fleet is primed and holding steady, Lieutenant Navarro reported, his voice a blend of excitement and tension. All systems show green. The Imperial advance fleet is closing in, unaware of our position. Tessa nodded, her gaze steady on the tactical display. She could see the Empire's smaller fleets scattered in standard formation, arrogant in their assumption of Earth's defenselessness. This would be their first mistake. Transmit the final orders, she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. Jump sequence set for 500 kilometers from their lead ship. We hit them hard, we hit them fast. No one gets a chance to regroup. The officers around her nodded, fully aware of the risks. They'd trained for this moment, drilled the tactics relentlessly. Teleportation wasn't just about moving from point A to point B. It was about strategy, precision, and an element of chaos the Empire hadn't anticipated. With a final glance at her crew, Tessa gave the order. Engage. A slight shudder went through the command deck as the Phoenix fleet's energy cores ignited. Tessa held her breath, feeling the brief, unnerving sensation of displacement as the teleportation sequence completed. In an instant, the Earth fleet reappeared directly on the flanks of the Imperial advance ships, a silent, deadly apparition in the Empire's formation. The Empire's lead ship, a massive destroyer bristling with cannons and shield generators, blinked on the main screen. Its captain's surprise was almost palpable. The alien's bluish features widened in astonishment as he registered the sudden appearance of Earth's ships. "Targets acquired," Lieutenant Navarro announced, snapping Tessa's attention back to the battle. "We're within firing range of all key Imperial ships. All units open fire," Tessa commanded. The space around them erupted in light. Earth's ships launched a concentrated barrage, the first volley ripping through the Imperial lead destroyer's shields before the alien crew could react. Explosions punctuated the vast silence, debris scattering like fireworks as the Empire's ships reeled from the onslaught. "Direct hit on their command ship," Navarro confirmed. "Their shields are down. Secondary weapons systems are offline." Tessa allowed herself a slight smile. "Good. Focus fire on the flanking ships. We'll dismantle their formation before they know what hit them." The Imperial fleet scrambled to respond, but their discipline frayed under the unexpected assault. The Empire's standard tactics assumed they'd be facing opponents who couldn't penetrate their outer defenses, let alone appear within their ranks. One by one, Earth's ships fired on the surrounding Imperial vessels. Missiles darted through the darkness, lasers carving through hulls as the Phoenix fleet wove around the Empire's formation, striking from every angle. The Empire's ships struggled to maneuver, disoriented by the sheer audacity of Earth's attack. Suddenly, an alert flashed on Tessa's console. "Enemy reinforcements detected," Navarro reported, his tone darkening. "They're coming in fast from the far side of Neptune." Tessa's gaze sharpened. She'd expected reinforcements, but not this soon. "What's their ETA?" 3 minutes, he replied. "Looks like a mixed formation, destroyers, frigates, and a command ship. They're bringing in heavy artillery." Tessa nodded, formulating a rapid plan. "All units, prepare for another jump. We'll break from the lead ship and regroup near Titan's orbit. Once we're clear, reorient for a defensive line." The Phoenix fleet pulled back, Earth's ships disappearing in a haze of light as they executed a second teleportation. Moments later, they rematerialized in the vast, dark region near Saturn's largest moon. The regrouped fleet floated in eerie silence, shadows cast across their hulls from Titan's distant glow. "Status report," Tessa ordered. "All ships accounted for, minor damage on the Resolute and Vanguard," Navarro replied, scanning the screens. "Enemy forces are pursuing, but we've bought ourselves a few minutes." Tessa's mind raced. This was no longer about a simple surprise attack. It was about survival against an empire now fully aware of Earth's capabilities. Their reinforcements would arrive soon, ready to retaliate. "Lieutenant," she said, leaning toward Navarro, "we need to make this next move count. What's the status on the teleporters? Can we attempt a second close-in assault?" Navarro hesitated. "Technically, yes, but the energy cores are running hot. A third jump under fire conditions could lead to system overload." Tessa took a steadying breath. "We'll have to risk it. Without the element of surprise, they'll wear us down. Let's hit them one more time and aim to cripple their command ship." As the Empire's reinforcements neared their position, Tessa's voice rang out. "All units, prepare to engage. We'll strike hard and then scatter. Target the Imperial command vessel. If we can disable it, we might force a retreat." The officers around her steeled themselves, each of them prepared to take their places in history as the defenders of Earth. The Empire's ships emerged on the tactical display, closing in rapidly. Tessa watched them, her fingers hovering over the weapons controls. "On my mark," she ordered, voice steady, eyes fixed on the approaching vessels. 3, 2, 1. Engage! The Phoenix fleet surged forward, Earth's ships converging on the Imperial command vessel like hawks on prey. Weapons flashed, the void between the fleets filling with streaks of plasma and laser fire. Tessa's targeting display locked onto the Empire's command ship, and she ordered a concentrated assault, watching with satisfaction as its shields flickered under the barrage. The Empire returned fire with everything they had. Explosions burst across the side of Tessa's ship, jolting her as the shields absorbed the impact. Panels sparked, and warning lights flared across the command center. "Shields at 70%, Navarro reported. They're coming in hard. Hold formation, Tessa commanded, her voice calm. Stay close. We've almost got their command vessel. The Imperial command ship faltered, smoke and debris streaming from its hull. Tessa seized the moment, ordering a final strike. Earth's ships unleashed a focused volley, and the command vessel shuddered violently before splitting apart in a silent explosion. A stunned silence fell across the battlefield as the Empire's remaining ships hesitated, disoriented without their command structure. Tessa saw the opportunity and acted. Phoenix Fleet, scatter and prepare for withdrawal. We've made our point. Let them wonder what else we're capable of. The Phoenix Fleet disengaged, fading into darkness as they executed one final teleportation jump, leaving the crippled remnants of the Empire's advance fleet drifting behind them. Back in the command center, the crew erupted into cheers, but Tessa only allowed herself a small, tight smile. This was only the beginning. Commander, we're clear, Navarro reported, the relief in his voice palpable. The Empire's ships are regrouping, but they're not pursuing. Good, Tessa replied, her tone measured. They're in for a long campaign if they think we'll go down that easily. As the Phoenix fleet moved back into Earth's defensive orbit, Tessa felt a new, fierce determination solidify within her. The Empire would return, but Earth had proven its strength. They weren't just defending their world, they were redefining their place in the galaxy. Back in the command center, Commander Tessa Marshall reviewed the latest intelligence, her gaze fixed on the incoming transmission from Admiral Vrax, the Empire's chief strategist. His reptilian features and yellow eyes, cold and calculating, filled the screen as he addressed her. Commander Marshall, he sneered. Congratulations on your fleeting victory. A testament to Earth's innovative desperation, I'd say. Tessa met his gaze unfazed. If you expected anything less, Admiral, then you've greatly underestimated us. We're not your helpless colony to conquer. Vrax's expression barely shifted, though a flicker of irritation passed over his face. We know about your teleportation technology now, and your fleet is insignificant compared to the Empire's. Your luck won't hold out for long. We'll see about that, Tessa replied, her tone hard. The screen flickered off, leaving the room in silence. She exhaled, and her officers exchanged uneasy glances. Admiral Carter broke the silence. He's bluffing. They didn't anticipate us the first time, and they're scrambling now. That's the only reason they're taunting us. They're trying to cover their own surprise. True, Tessa replied, though she knew they were still outgunned and running on limited resources. But they'll be ready this time. We've shown our hand, and now they're coming in full force. Lieutenant Navarro approached, tablet in hand. Commander, we've intercepted a data packet from one of their ships. It seems they're deploying a battalion-level strike force, equipped with more advanced shielding. We estimate they'll be within Earth's orbit within 24 hours. The room fell into a tense silence. Earth's teleportation fleet had the element of surprise in the first attack, but now they faced a vast, well-prepared armada. Tessa knew the Empire would adapt. They always did. She turned to her officers, her tone resolute. All right, listen up. The Empire thinks they're bringing reinforcements to finish us, but we'll make them pay for every inch. We'll defend our system at all costs. Navarro, outline the battle plan. Navarro displayed the tactical map on the main screen. Based on the Empire's expected approach, we'll lure them in close by retreating to Earth's atmosphere. With our teleportation advantage, we can keep them off balance. But we'll need to rely on Earth's defensive platforms as well. Admiral Carter nodded. If we can force them into the gravity well, it'll limit their maneuverability and buy us some time. Tessa studied the map, her mind racing through strategies. Agreed. But we need to be careful. We can't jump too often, or we risk overloading the fleet's teleportation cores. They worked quickly, refining the details. Every officer, every technician focused intently, aware that their decisions could mean survival or annihilation. Soon, the fleet moved into position, lying in wait above Earth's orbit. As the hours ticked by, Tessa took a moment to herself in the quiet observation room. Staring down at the swirling blue planet below, she felt the weight of her duty settle over her. This was the home she was fighting for, the lives and futures of everyone on Earth. She didn't know if they could hold off the Empire, but she knew they would try with everything they had. Navarro's voice crackled over the calm. "Commander, the Empire's fleet is approaching Mars. They'll be in firing range within the hour." Tessa returned to the command center, finding her officers ready, faces tense but resolute. "This is it," she said, her voice carrying through the room. "We're not just defending a planet, we're standing for every person who believes in freedom from the Empire. We're showing them what Earth can do." The officers' expressions hardened, each one prepared for the fight to come. "Activate Earth's orbital defenses," Tessa ordered. "And prepare the Phoenix fleet to jump as soon as they reach Earth's orbit." The display lit up as the Empire's fleet entered Earth's defensive range. The Empire's ships moved in a tight, disciplined formation, shields glowing as they deflected the automated lasers and railgun fire from Earth's orbital platforms. "Enemy fleet strength confirmed," Navarro reported, a grim note in his voice. 27 warships, including 2 capital-class battleships. "Their shields are stronger than last time." Tessa studied the formation. "Let them think we're stalling," she murmured. "We'll hit them when they're least expecting it." The Empire's ships advanced, their beams tearing through the orbital defenses with brutal efficiency. Shields flared, and explosions punctuated the darkness as satellites disintegrated in brilliant bursts of light. "Phoenix Fleet," Tessa commanded. "Prepare for emergency jump. Coordinates set for direct engagement." The fleet's teleportation engines hummed to life, and in an instant, Earth's ships disappeared, reappearing on the Empire's left flank. Earth's ships erupted with a concentrated barrage, aiming for the Empire's smaller frigates first. One by one, they tore through the vulnerable flanks, cutting down the Empire's support ships. But the Empire quickly adjusted. The battleships rotated to bring their shields into place, absorbing the brunt of Earth's attack, while destroyers shifted to block escape routes. "Commander, they're adapting faster this time," Navarro warned, urgency in his voice. "We won't be able to teleport out without risking overload." Tessa clenched her jaw, scanning for an opening. "Then we'll have to hold our ground. Focus fire on the lead battleship. Take down its shields, and we'll disable it from within." The Phoenix fleet poured everything they had into the lead battleship, lasers, plasma torpedoes, and railguns firing in tandem. The battleship's shields flared, weakening under the unrelenting assault. Tessa watched, her heart racing as cracks appeared in the shield barrier. "Shields at critical," Navarro called. "We're close." Suddenly, a tremor rattled the command center as the ship absorbed a direct hit. Panels sparked, and warning lights flared red. Tessa grabbed onto the console as the ship rocked from the impact. "Damage report," she demanded, regaining her footing. "Forward shields down to 40%, Navarro replied, sweat beading on his brow. "If we take another hit like that, we'll lose the main cannon." "Hold steady," Tessa said, voice fierce. "This is our only chance to break their line." The Phoenix fleet continued their assault, pounding the battleship's shields until, finally, they collapsed. Without hesitation, Tessa gave the command. "Launch boarding pods. Target their command deck." Earth's ships fired clusters of boarding pods, each one carrying an elite team of Marines equipped to breach the Empire's defenses. On screen, Tessa watched as the pods pierced the battleship's weakened hull and disappeared inside. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then, the comms crackled with a report from Captain Hale, leading the boarding team. "We've secured the command deck, Commander," he said. "The Empire's officers are surrendering. The ship is ours." A wave of relief swept over the command center. Tessa allowed herself a small smile, but she knew they weren't done yet. "Good work, Captain. Fortify your position and prepare for extraction. We're going to use their ship as a shield for our retreat." The captured battleship turned in place, blocking the Empire's remaining ships as the Phoenix fleet regrouped behind it. Tessa activated the comms, her voice ringing with defiance. "This is Commander Marshall of the Earth Defense Fleet. You've seen what we're capable of. Retreat now, or face the same fate as your command ship. There was a long silence. Finally, the Empire's remaining ships broke formation, falling back as Earth's fleet held steady, a defiant line in the void. As the Empire retreated, Tessa felt the weight lift slightly from her shoulders. They'd won this round, but she knew the Empire wouldn't give up so easily. Still, for the first time, she allowed herself a moment of hope. Turning to her crew, she spoke with quiet pride. "We've proven we can stand against them. And we'll keep fighting until they realize we're not just another target." Around her, faces softened with relief and resolve. They'd faced the Empire's fury and survived, and Earth's defiance was only growing stronger. The celebrations aboard the Phoenix fleet were subdued but genuine. After weeks of tense battles and strategy sessions, the crew relished a rare moment of relief. Yet as Tessa Marshall walked through the corridors, she couldn't shake a strange sense of unease. Victory had come, but it felt fragile, hanging on a thread that could snap at any moment. In the command center, Lieutenant Navarro greeted her with a serious expression. "Commander, I've got something unusual in the data feed. I think you should see it." Tessa approached, her curiosity piqued. Navarro pulled up a file, encrypted and marked with the Empire's distinct coding. "One of our scouts intercepted this. It's a high-level Imperial transmission, but we've only managed to decode part of it." Navarro tapped a few keys, and a snippet of text appeared on the screen. Operation Dawnfire. Phase 1, infiltration complete. Earth's defenses compromised. A chill settled over the room as the message sank in. "Operation Dawnfire?" Tessa echoed, her eyes narrowing. "What do we know about it?" "Not much, Commander," Navarro replied, his face grim. "But this transmission hints at something big. They've mentioned an infiltration, and if they've managed to compromise us from within..." Tessa felt a surge of dread. This wasn't just about strength and strategy. The Empire had found a way inside their lines. Someone close to Earth's defenses had betrayed them. But who? Her thoughts were interrupted by a message from Admiral Carter, summoning her to a secure meeting. With a final nod to Navarro, Tessa made her way to the briefing room, where the faces of Earth's senior defense officers filled the screen. "Commander Marshall, we've received intelligence suggesting that an Imperial agent has infiltrated our ranks," Carter said without preamble. "It could be anyone, an officer, a technician, even a civilian liaison. Our job is to find them before they do any real damage." Tessa's stomach twisted. Trust was the foundation of their entire operation, and now it was fractured. "Do we have any suspects?" "Not yet," Carter replied, his tone grim. "But we know they're using access codes from within Earth's primary defense grid. Whoever they are, they have deep clearance." Tessa's mind raced as she considered the implications. The Empire was already powerful, but with an informant embedded among them, they could predict every tactic, every movement. "Admiral," Tessa said, "with your permission, I'll begin a covert investigation within the Phoenix fleet. We need to locate this agent before they jeopardize our next mission." Carter nodded. "Agreed. Keep it quiet, and keep it fast, Commander." The transmission cut out, and Tessa stood in silence, steeling herself. This mission was unlike any they'd faced. Combat she understood, betrayal within her own fleet was another matter entirely. Back in her quarters, Tessa pulled up the personnel files, combing through every name, every face. Her instincts pointed her toward Lieutenant Harper, an officer who had joined the fleet under unusual circumstances. He was skilled, resourceful, but he'd always seemed a little too reserved, a little too careful. Calling up Navarro on her comm, Tessa spoke in a low tone. "Navarro, I need you to keep an eye on Harper." Discreetly. Navarro hesitated but then nodded. "Understood, Commander. I'll start tracking his movements, and I'll keep you updated." Tessa logged off, her gaze drifting to the viewport. The stars, so constant and steady, seemed indifferent to the struggles unfolding beneath them. For the first time, she wondered if their fight was doomed, if the Empire's influence had already poisoned them from within. 2 days later, Navarro contacted her with an urgent update. "Commander, I think we've got something." Harper accessed the fleet's secure communication logs. Logs he has no clearance for. Has he made any unusual transmissions? She asked, her pulse quickening. Not directly, but he's used a series of encrypted subchannels to forward fragments of data. It's hard to track without tipping him off, but it's definitely suspicious. Tessa weighed the options. Let's confront him, discreetly. If he's our leak, we can't afford to let him slip away. Navarro nodded. Understood. He's in the engineering deck right now. I'll meet you there. When Tessa arrived on the engineering deck, she found Navarro waiting by a console. Harper was bent over a screen, engrossed in his work, unaware of their approach. Lieutenant Harper, Tessa said, her voice even but laced with authority. He looked up, surprised, and quickly masked his expression. Commander, he said, standing at attention. How can I assist you? I have a few questions about your recent activities, Tessa said, studying him closely. In particular, your access to restricted files. Harper's face twitched, just for a moment, and he glanced at Navarro. I don't know what you're talking about, Commander. Lieutenant, Navarro interjected, his tone firm. We've traced unauthorized logins to your terminal. We know about the encrypted subchannels. Harper swallowed, his expression tense. It's not what you think. I was gathering intel on an Imperial operation, trying to locate the leak myself. I didn't want to alert anyone until I had proof. Tessa's eyes narrowed. You're saying you were conducting an unauthorized investigation, on your own initiative? Yes, Commander, Harper said, his voice wavering slightly. I know how it sounds, but I was trying to protect the fleet. I've seen the Empire's methods before, and I thought I could intercept their plans before they struck. Tessa didn't miss the flicker of guilt in his eyes. But was it guilt from betrayal, or guilt from circumventing her authority? Harper, if you have any evidence of Imperial sabotage, now's the time to share it, she said. Harper hesitated, then reached into his pocket, pulling out a small data chip. Everything's on here. Encryption codes, intercepted messages, suspected contacts. I was going to bring it to you, once I was sure. She took the chip, glancing at Navarro before tucking it away. Very well, Lieutenant. I'll review this personally. But any further investigations happen under my orders. Is that understood? Understood, Commander, he said, his gaze steady but his face pale. As they walked away, Navarro looked at her, concern etched into his expression. Do you believe him? Tessa frowned, fingers tapping against the chip in her hand. I don't know. But if he's telling the truth, we may have just found our best lead. If he's lying, we'll know soon enough. Later, in her quarters, Tessa examined the data chip, sifting through encrypted messages and fragments of intercepted Imperial communications. The codes were complex, layered with firewalls and redirection pathways, a sophisticated setup, no doubt crafted by the Empire's best operatives. As she decrypted the final layer, a familiar name flashed on the screen, Operation Dawnfire Agent Marshall identified as primary target. Tessa's breath caught. The Empire's operation was aimed directly at her, the leader of Earth's defense fleet. They weren't just targeting the fleet, they were targeting her, aiming to undermine her leadership and dismantle Earth's defenses from within. A surge of determination filled her. The Empire wanted her gone, but she wasn't about to make it easy. This war was personal now, and she would fight tooth and nail to protect her people and uncover the truth. Setting her jaw, Tessa reached for her calm. Navarro, we have our next target. Gather the team. The Empire's plan just became crystal clear, and we're going to stop it, no matter what. The Phoenix fleet was on high alert. The tension was palpable as Tessa and her officers gathered in the strategy room to discuss the latest findings. Operation Dawnfire had given them a glimpse into the Empire's real intentions, but they still didn't know who among them was feeding information to the enemy. Tessa's jaw was set as she faced her officers, the weight of suspicion heavy in the room. Navarro spoke first. Commander, after analyzing the data from Harper's chip, we've identified patterns in the transmissions. The signal used for encrypted messages matches one coming from inside the fleet. They're cleverly masked, but there's no doubt They're coming from our own systems. Tessa nodded, her expression hard. We've come too far to let one mole unravel everything. We need to draw them out and eliminate this threat for good. She glanced around the room. We're going to set a trap. Admiral Carter, who had been listening intently, leaned forward. Do we know how the agent transmits to the Empire? If we can lure them into using their comm channel, we could pinpoint their location in real time. Navarro nodded. That's our best shot. We'll initiate a mock mission with limited access and leak selective information through that channel. If they take the bait, we'll have them. A murmur of agreement went around the table. Tessa's mind was already racing, devising the specifics of their plan. A few hours later, Tessa stood on the bridge, her officers working quietly around her. The trap had been set, a fictitious mission, supposedly involving a strike on a critical Imperial outpost. Only a handful of trusted officers knew the details, but the mole would receive a carefully orchestrated snippet, a high-value target that would be impossible to resist. Any sign of activity, Navarro? Tessa asked, her voice calm but tight with anticipation. Not yet, Commander. The channel's still quiet, he replied, eyes glued to his terminal. The seconds dragged on, each one feeling like an eternity. Tessa clenched her fists, willing the mole to take the bait. She couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire's reach extended deeper than they'd imagined, that their true goal went beyond a single sabotage. Finally, a soft ping broke the silence. We have activity on the channel, Navarro announced, his fingers flying over the controls. It's transmitting, directly from one of our maintenance bays. Tessa's heart leapt. Send a security team, now. Have them move in with caution. This mole is cornered, and they may not come quietly. On the monitors, security footage showed the team converging on the maintenance bay, weapons drawn. But when they reached the entrance, the door was already open. Inside, Harper was crouched by an open panel, his expression stricken as the security team entered. Harper! Tessa muttered, both relieved and furious. She patched herself into the security team's comms. Hold him until I get there. I need to question him personally. Minutes later, she arrived at the bay, Navarro at her side. Harper was restrained, looking between them with a mixture of defiance and desperation. Tessa crossed her arms, her voice icy. Lieutenant Harper, you've been caught relaying sensitive data to the Empire. Care to explain yourself? Harper's face flushed with anger. You don't understand, Commander. This isn't betrayal, it's survival. The Empire's too powerful. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable, and I refuse to watch Earth get torn apart for nothing. So you decided to turn traitor? Tessa replied, her gaze sharp. You chose to betray the very people fighting to protect Earth? Explain to me how that's survival. Harper looked away, his shoulders sagging. They offered me a deal, Commander. Safety for my family, a guarantee that they'd be spared if I helped them take you down. I couldn't say no, not when it meant sparing innocent lives. Navarro shook his head in disgust. And how many lives will the Empire take if we fail, Harper? Do you really believe they'd keep their word once Earth falls? Harper's eyes flickered with doubt. I didn't think. No, you didn't, Tessa interrupted, her voice hard. The Empire preys on fear, and they got to you. But you've jeopardized every one of us in this fleet, every person back on Earth who trusts us to keep them safe. You made a choice, and now you'll face the consequences. With a signal, the security team led Harper away. As he disappeared down the corridor, Tessa felt the weight of betrayal settle over her. She trusted Harper, counted on him to stand by her side in this fight. Now, his actions had placed everyone in danger. That night, Tessa sat alone in her quarters, the adrenaline from the day's events giving way to exhaustion. She stared out the viewport, Earth a distant blue sphere against the stars. This fight was more complex than she'd ever imagined, with the Empire attacking from every angle, both outside and in. A soft chime from her terminal brought her back to the present. It was Admiral Carter. Commander, I heard about Harper. How are you holding up? His voice was heavy with concern. It's a blow, Admiral. But we'll adapt. We'll make sure the Empire never gets that close again, she replied, steeling herself. That's the spirit. We're counting on you, Tessa. The whole fleet believes in what you're doing, Carter said, his tone resolute. And we have new intel. Our scouts intercepted another transmission. It seems the Empire's regrouping, planning a decisive strike. This could be our chance to hit them hard. A grim determination settled over Tessa. If they want to fight, we'll be ready. The Phoenix fleet has held them off before, and we'll do it again. She could hear Carter's smile through the calm. That's what I like to hear. Rest tonight, Commander. Tomorrow, we plan Earth's defense, and the Empire's downfall. After ending the call, Tessa took a deep breath, allowing herself a rare moment of solitude. Despite everything, she felt a surge of hope. The Empire was vast, ruthless, and relentless, but they'd shown they could be outsmarted. The next day, Tessa gathered her officers in the command center, briefing them on the Empire's impending strike. They worked together, refining tactics, synchronizing the teleportation fleet with Earth's planetary defenses, and preparing to push the Empire back once and for all. Navarro approached her, his face serious. Commander, we've analyzed the Empire's potential trajectories. If we lure them close to Jupiter's orbit, we can use its gravitational field to slow their ships before we hit them with a concentrated attack. Tessa considered it, a spark of inspiration igniting in her mind. That's exactly what we'll do. And if we jump in right as they're slowing down, we'll have the upper hand. The officers around her nodded, their faces alight with determination. As the Empire's fleet entered Jupiter's orbit hours later, the Phoenix fleet was ready. Earth's ships lay in wait, hidden behind the gas giant's massive shadow. As the Imperial Armada slowed, the Earth fleet sprang from their cover, teleporting directly into position and unleashing a brutal barrage. The Empire's ships struggled, shields flaring against the onslaught. But Earth's forces were relentless, focusing fire with precision and coordination honed over weeks of grueling battles. The Empire's lead ship, a massive battlecruiser, took the brunt of the assault, its shields collapsing under the concentrated fire. Tessa's voice rang over the calm. Push forward! We have them off balance! Don't let up! With every blast, every maneuver, Earth's fleet edged closer to victory. The Empire, unprepared for such a calculated strike, faltered. One by one, their ships began to pull back, unable to withstand the relentless assault. As the last of the Empire's fleet retreated, a wave of exhilaration swept through the Phoenix fleet. They'd turned the tide, forcing the Empire to retreat from Earth's borders. Tessa allowed herself a small, triumphant smile. Earth had survived another day, and the Phoenix fleet had proven their strength. Tessa knew the Empire would come again, but she was ready. Together, they would keep fighting, standing as Earth's first, and last, line of defense.